Hi, I'm Janine the Floor, and I'm here with Zain Jeewanjee. Zain, thank you so much for coming today. Can you give us a little bit about your background?
I was born in Kenya. I grew up in Pakistan. Came in 1983 to the U.S. With a child who needed medical care, my infant son. And then been here in the Silicon Valley when you could buy a piece of land in the 80s and afford it.
Wow, okay. And tell us about your startup story.
My startup story, Jeewanjee.com, was purely because of circumstances. I'd come to the U.S. with a child who needed medical care. When we landed here, he suffered from a pre-existing condition. 6 months later, we lost him. He died.
Oh, sorry.
And we were left with a huge amount of bills. And I was working all night gas stations and pumping gas and paying those bills off. I was astonished that the world's largest GDP didn't have a solution for people who come to the U.S. for medical care. I looked around, searched around, found there was a company in Washington, D.C. that insured people, delegates and government contracts, but it still wasn't available to the common man on the street. So we started that insuring. It was first a few friends who were getting relatives over, and then other people, and so on and so forth. And long story short, today we consider ourselves the largest aggregator of international medical insurance for people who come into the U.S. and people who travel outside the U.S.
Wow.
A one-stop shop.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah. And what's the best mentor you've ever had, and what made them the best mentor?
That's a great question, and I wish I had 28 days to think about it. My best mentor was my dad, who taught me basic principles of greed where it's wrong and where it can give you drive and energy. Gave me principles of where you don't do wrong with the employee and make sure you take care of him by making sure that he's well taken care of. Taught me the rule that most accountants, my accountant disagrees with. You pay your bill a day before it's due. Make sure you pay all your bills even when you're going down. Do always the right thing. Look, and my father taught me because he was an entrepreneur and a self-made man. And he said, as long as you do it right, keep doing the right thing, you'll really succeed in life. When you don't look at the end result as your ultimate goal.
Okay. And what's the biggest failure you've had, and how did you overcome that?
I think my biggest failure would be with absolute candidacy. When you're an entrepreneur, your drive, your energy strives you to spend a lot of time into business and work. My failure in that work is that when you're doing so many things yourself, you leave away the basic fundamentals. Your accounting processes, your infrastructure, you think it'll just happen itself. It doesn't, because you're an entrepreneur, you're just going out to make the next deal. Mm-hmm. And you lose and leave ends open which can come back and hound you, number one. The other failure, I must admit that I wish I could rewind the time and spend more time with my kids or more time with my family and give them that time. Mm-hmm. But I think that's the 2 points that I would improve on if I had to redo it.
Okay, and kind of building on that, what does it take to run a business? What does it mean for an entrepreneur to take that on?
If you're going to give up that 9-to-5 job where your paycheck is guaranteed, I can guarantee you if somebody pays you $100 an hour as 9-to-5, you must be worth $200 an hour. Otherwise, they won't pay you that, right? They may be an idiot to pay you $200 an hour if you're worth only $100. So you will make more. You'll make much more on your own than you ever will for somebody else. But there's a price to pay. Mm-hmm. You don't have that security. Yeah. You'll work long hours. You'll work many hours, but you'll work your hours. Yeah. So when the World Cup was playing in India, and we wanted to fly down and go see it, we just sat on a plane and went there. I didn't have to give my vacancy leave or vacation notice to my boss. But yeah, that football game that my son wanted me to be on, guess what? I had a meeting with the VC, so I said, honey, can you take the son to the football game? I can't be there. So there's a give and take. Okay. I think in running your own stuff.
Great. Thanks. And to wrap up with, what inspirational story can you offer entrepreneurs out there who are starting their own businesses, especially if they've had any failures?
There are no failures at all. There are really no failures in your business itself. They're just learning obstacles that you have to learn. And as you learn, sometimes, you take a class in mathematics, but you didn't need mathematics because you were going to go do something else. You're going to do art. You're going to make sculptures. But you will have failures. You think they're failures. They're just lessons for you to learn and keep moving forward. As long as the goal is the end, the goal is the end, you keep it. Write it down. What I used to do is every time I'm doing a new company and startup, and what we do is in my bathroom, if you go in On my mirror, on top of my mirror, I've got the company's ultimate sales goal written down there. And I see it every morning. And there are obstacles and failures that come in, but keep going forward, because these are just lessons you learn. And I think, you can't be in a better place in the world than in the US, where you can do anything you want at any time at all. And you can be any shape, form, color, and pocketbook, and you can do it. And that's the only part of the world. I tell my friends from England, because I'm a British national by birth, I tell them, in England, you can think freely, you can speak freely, you can go to Hyde Park and say anything to anyone except for the Queen. But in America is the only place in the world you can think freely. I could sit in this hotel here and say, I want to buy it. And I can actually go and do it. That's the beauty of America.
Wow. Well, Zain, thank you so much for being here
Pleasure.
today. Appreciate
Pleasure,
it.
Jeannie.
Thank you.
Pleasure.